Hey there, Suzi here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share this special message with you. Now, my co-host Michelle and I love masterminds. Not only do we belong to masterminds, but we also host a mastermind. We started it almost 8 years ago, and it is the premier mastermind for women business owners who want to grow their business with a specific focus on marketing. Now, this group is usually completely booked out, and very occasionally we open the doors and invite a handful of women in. So if you're growing your business, but you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or like you constantly have a split focus when it comes to your marketing, this could be exactly what you're looking for. We have an amazing time together, and the women in the group are extraordinary. They're great cheerleaders, supporters, advisors, and colleagues for you. And they're also seeing extraordinary results. We see people cracking the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark, launching new e-commerce sites that go from $0 to $10,000 a month in sales. They're doubling their conversion rates, they're growing memberships, they're selling courses, they're growing their personal brands, and they're getting all kinds of media exposure and speaking opportunities and so much more. You can learn more about the mastermind and join the wait list over at herbusinessmastermind.com. We're going to open the doors soon, so you definitely want to be on the list to get an invitation. So head on over to herbusinessmastermind.com. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 208. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi. I am doing really well, even though perhaps my voice doesn't sound quite like I am. I have just been recovering from a bout of laryngitis, but I'm so happy to be here with you, and also really very happy to be here with not one, but actually 3 guests today.
We are shaking things up a little today, and we are, as Michelle said, talking to 3 successful small business owners about the money part of marketing. And this is a topic we've touched on at different times over the years, but it's the first time we're approaching it like this. We're bringing in 3 people who've had money breakthroughs in 3 important ways that relate to how we do our marketing. And those 3 ways are a mindset breakthrough, pricing breakthrough, and investing in paid traffic breakthrough.
Yes, and I'm so excited to speak with each of our guests today, who all also happen to be amazing members of our Marketing Success Mastermind, which means we've literally seen them, haven't we, Suzi, have these money breakthroughs in real time over the past few years, something we're really big on helping people with within the mastermind, because, you know, those money blocks, those money obstacles can be the thing that really stops us from growing. And Suzi, we know these are often the big areas that are holding people back with actually growing their business, being more successful with their marketing and getting those results that they're really looking for themselves, but also for their customers.
Absolutely, because you can have the best marketing hooks, and you can have a great webinar, and you can do beautiful Instagram reels and have gorgeous lead magnets or online courses or brochures or whatever it is. But if you have not gotten through some of the money breakthroughs that we're talking about today, you can find yourself spinning your wheels, working too hard for the money, spreading yourself too thin, actually not doing the kind of work that you really should be doing, or having the kind of impact, or really valuing what you really bring to your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the format for today is we're going to have a chat with each of our guests about one specific money breakthrough they've had, and we're going to get their insights about how they did that and what life is like now. And of course, all of these breakthroughs are often interrelated, and you'll likely see that today. And while these aren't all the money breakthroughs to be had when it comes to the money part of your marketing, it is a great start, and some of the top money-related obstacles we see holding many small business owners back. And that was really what Suzi said earlier about mindset, pricing, and then also investing in traffic and getting those sort of bigger lead generation activities happening in your business. And as we conclude each of the 3 interviews, Suzi and I will share a few of our thoughts and insights, observations on the money breakthroughs in our own marketing journeys. Plus, we've got some resources you might find useful as well.
Great. I cannot wait to get into it. Now, inside of her business, here's what I want you to know. We have these 8 growth zones that we've identified. And these are 8 areas of business that work together to create any successful business owner. And money is one of those growth zones that we've actually been working on to help our members with on a regular basis. And while the money growth zone includes things like knowing your numbers and how you're managing your money, knowing when to bring on new team members or invest in technology, allocating your budget to all sorts of things, marketing and non-marketing, I think one of the biggest places that you can leverage with your money in your business is here in marketing. When you're not charging enough, when your mindset is out of whack, when you can't make the leap to investing in what will ultimately help your marketing get some traction, these are the big things that can be holding you back, and they can stop the flow of money into your business. So let's bring on our first guest. This is the amazing Shandra Moran to chat with us about her money mindset breakthrough. Now, Shandra is our current Her Business Network Member of the Year. She's very loved and such a generous member of the Her Business Network and, as Michelle said, of the Marketing Success Mastermind. And in a moment, she'll introduce herself. But what I do want to say about her is that one of the things that she does is she helps women with their money mindsets, even though today she's talking to us mostly about her own money mindset. And she's helping these women transition from having a secure salary and they start a side gig to really having a fully blown, profitable business. And she does this through her programs and her membership. And she helps women make friends with money so that they can go on to create a successful business. And a lot of that comes from having the right mindset so that you can get past those money limitations so that you can create, save, and spend with more confidence. Shandra, welcome to the Content Sales Podcast.
Thank you so much, Suzi. I'm super excited about being here.
We are so excited to have you.
We sure are. We absolutely love you. And we were just saying how much we've loved watching your transformation over the last few years. And before we get into kind of the detail of what we're busting to find out from you, can you tell us a bit about what you do and who you serve?
Sure. So my name is Shandra and my business is called The Transit Lounge. And I work with career women who want to grow a side business to be a viable, profitable, future full-time business. And I help them to do that through private coaching and my online coaching program called Women in Transit, The Path to Being Your Own Boss.
I love how succinctly you were able to put all of that together. And I know that you do help the women in those programs with their money mindsets. But first, we want to talk to you a little bit about your money mindset, specifically as it relates to your marketing. And so what would you say when thinking specifically about your marketing journey has been one of the biggest money breakthroughs you've had as it relates to your mindset, how you're thinking about that money part of marketing?
And it has been part of the evolution and the transformation for me in my journey. And I think one of the breakthroughs when I look back on it, and I don't think you're always aware when you're going through it, but looking back on it, I think one of the breakthroughs was a shift in my way of thinking around what marketing actually really was, and a reframe around that marketing, when done well or effectively, is actually an investment and a part of business operations. It's not just a cost or an expense. And I think that was a real shift. And for me, when I think about or talk about mindset, just from a quick definition point of view, I look at it as your mindset is really the combination of your thoughts and stories, assumptions and beliefs that you have about the thing, and that your mindset influences the action that you take or you don't take. And that's why it's so important. It's not just this sort of soft skill or soft fluffy thing. It's critical in terms of the action that you take. And that's why I think it's really important to explore and up level.
I think what you're saying there is so important, because sometimes, especially when people are just starting out, they think, well, I've got a logo, I've got a website, I've got a newsletter, marketing done.
Yes, I'm good to go.
I'm good to go. And yeah, we know that if our mindset is we're always marketing, marketing is, like you said, a crucial part of just ongoing running and growing a business. So when you had that shift in your thinking about money and its role in marketing in your business. How are you able to play things out differently? Like, what are you doing differently now that you have sort of taken control of that mindset? And, how did it look before? And then how does it look now?
Yeah. And I will, just as a caveat, declare, I do not think that I have got this completely mastered. I see this very much as an ongoing process. But as I said, like, looking back, there's I guess some moments and some phases, I guess, that I can see that I have moved through. But before I thought about marketing and how I invest in marketing from a money point of view, previously I just had to do it all in the business. I have a solo business, and so I don't have team that I work with. And so I very much had the attitude that I had to do everything. And so that would look like me prepping for a podcast, recording the podcast, editing the podcast, doing the show notes for the podcast, uploading the all the things. And because of that, the churn of time and energy, it just meant that there was not really a lot of room or a lot of energy left for me to be doing the needle mover activity.
I love it.
That was a real, like, when I reflect back, that at the time I remember thinking, this is smart. You don't have the budget yet to pay somebody else to do this, and you can do it. So you should do it and save the money. And then when the business gets bigger, then you can pay somebody else to do it. And what I think my shift now is different to that, in seeing that mindset very much slowed me down in terms of my growth. And it also resulted in me being, I guess, having a bit of more of a scattergun approach to the marketing that I was doing, because I was being a bit. I have the joke in our household is that I am a bit like my dad, Neville John, and that he has strong, tight ass characteristics. and so in my business, I could let that side take over, and to be erring more on the side of saving money instead of actually looking more strategically about, hang on, where is my money best invested? And that loops back to that attitude of seeing marketing as the investment, and like any investment, I want to be looking at the return on that, and just shifting my criteria for where I spent money, when I spent money, and what I spent it on.
Oh my gosh, we could just do an episode just on what you've said just there, because it's so important. And what we do find is we find women wearing all the hats, doing all the things, finger in every pie. And when it comes to marketing, DIYing a lot of things that are not the best use of their time. To use your terminology, they're not actually moving the needle. So really, getting the mindset that I'm going to buy back my time. There's actually a great book out now called Buy Back Your Time. And the sort of premise of it is that as business owners, what we want to do is we want more time to do the needle moving things. And so how do we buy back that time? And so we have to get the mindset first before we can say, oh, I need a podcast producer, I need a blog writer, or I need a tech person to get behind the scenes. And if we have grown up with that do-it-yourself work ethic, that can be a little tough as well. So I love how you described that. Now, we mentioned earlier that you work with the Transit Lounge to help women who are looking to replace a salary, step out on their own 100%, and maybe they're feeling a little bit of fear, especially about letting go of a secure salary and really backing themselves. So what I'd love to know is, what do you typically find is going on in their money mindset that is the biggest block for them as it relates to actually spending money on the marketing that will help their business grow?
Yes, well, there's a lot of things that come up around the money side of things. And one of them is around pricing. And what I observe in a lot of my clients and women in my community is that they've often come from, or they're still in a well-paying job, and we often talk about the golden handcuffs of the perceived security of that salary. And what we notice is that when it comes to them pricing and actually asking for the sale, asking a certain amount, it moves into a different mindset for them compared to what they would normally do in their job. So if they are a consultant in their job, they're often being billed out at thousands and thousands of dollars a day, or for their services and their expertise. But even if they're doing the same thing or very similar in their own business, there's some different energy switch that kicks in where suddenly it doesn't feel okay to be asking for that. It's about that because it's their expertise that they devalue that. And so they get stuck on pricing. They often don't charge enough, and they, I guess, or they charge appropriately, but then they don't have boundaries and they massively over deliver in what they promised. And that can lead to them burning out or not being able to see how they can scale the business. And so it's a bit of a tricky one. A quick example is one of my clients, Lisa. She's a subject matter expert in her field, and she has a book, and she's had this book for 8 years, and her pricing has been, stuck at the same level for a long time. And through the work that we've done, we really had lots of conversations about how she could look at pricing, and her comparison was, what are other people charging for similar-ish products or books? And we, through a conversation around how she was approaching that, helped her to look more at what was the value in the content of the book, decisions that people would be able to make because of what she was sharing with them, and what was a dollar value on that. And so one thing that in the book she teaches people about would save them literally $5,000, if not more. And so the conversation shifted differently in her mind when she started saying, okay, me charging $19.95 for my book, perhaps I could up-level it to $24. It's just those things of when you're looking at something that's your own business, your own expertise. I think the mindset can be thinking small and, not wanting to charge too much. But I think that's a bit of a trap. And so I think that's definitely a common theme as a big block that many women can have.
We're going to talk a little more about pricing a little later in the show. I wanted to ask, before we move on to another question, I just want to dig a little further into this. When it comes to these women who have a side gig and they're looking to take it to a full-time business, what do you think, what's going on with their mindset as far as spending money on marketing that's going to help their business grow, whether that is to buy ads or to rent email lists or to get a decent brand or any of those sort of marketing expenses that you've had to invest in to grow your business?
Yeah, and again, I think it can be slightly different for different people depending on their current financial situation. So some women, what I see is they throw money at the problem. And by that, I mean, they think, oh, okay, I want to have a business, so I need a website. And so they'll just find someone and they'll spend $10,000, $20,000, however much money on this website. And they think that was the thing that then they're going to get all the clients. They're going to build the website and the people will just magically appear. And so there's some people that do that and they just outsource it all before they have refined enough, and therefore that's a bit of a waste of money sometimes, depending on the business model. But then I also think for some women, they do a little bit of what I did in the early days, which is to hold back and say, well, my business has to earn X amount of money before I can let myself buy that thing or invest in that thing. And so it can be a bit of a pendulum swing maybe between, are they just paying for all the things without really having done some foundational work, and that just means they're going to have to do a do-over, or are they being too tight and thinking that just because they've started the business that miraculously there's going to be an audience there ready to buy from them right now? And it's going to be a tricky one to make that decision. But I think part of it is actually exploring a little bit around what is the thinking behind this, and are you bringing the mindset that the assumption is that just because you know the value of what you're going to be offering, that this audience is going to magically know, or do you actually see that you will need a marketing strategy no matter what your product or service is? You need to build that audience, and that's the marketing is what leads to you having the ability to have sales conversations.
Right. Thank you.
I love what you said there about ask yourself, what is the thinking behind this? And I think it's so hard to kind of put the mirror up to our own mindset. It's sort of like almost impossible to see our own blind spots. And that is the kind of question that helps us get around the other side of those blind spots and start to see where they might be. So I loved that phrasing. And I think it's fantastic advice. And Chandra, I think you've shared so much about the perfect prison we can kind of build for ourselves, thinking, well, when the business is making money, I'll invest in the business, or when I'm getting sales, I'll invest money in getting sales.
Yep.
And you said right at the start that was one of the big mindset shifts you had to make, which was really thinking about your marketing as a really valid part of the business operation that you need to invest in, versus just kind of a cost or a nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love to sort of loop back around to where we started, which was kind of talking about you and your mindset around the money part of marketing, and say, what was your turning point, or what were the moments that kind of helped you to have this breakthrough? Because I know our listeners are probably resonating very much with your mindset around this before, and quite keen to hear about, well, how did you get to the after part? What was that turning point?
Yeah, well, I think there's probably two parts to it. One was me getting to a point of actually reframing my beliefs and my story about what money is and what marketing is and how they fit into the business equation. And the second part of it, so that I guess is internal work for me that I did, but then more of an external or practical example of a real turning point moment was actually a conversation with my mentor a few years ago. And I was having a conversation with him about budgeting and talking about budgeting for the next financial year. And I was talking about the fact that I had wanted to join a mastermind for quite a long time, and that I had this benchmark in my mind that once my business was turning over X amount of money, then I would join this mastermind. And he very respectfully, in a beautiful way, as he does, said, don't you think that's a little bit like saying that you're going to wait till you get fit before you go to the gym? And for me, it was just a real moment of literally a practical example of, I'm wanting this outcome, but I want to wait till I've pretty much almost got the outcome before I invest in the thing that's going to help me get the outcome. And what was great about that was it was delivered firmly, but also very, respectfully, that allowed me in that question to join the dots in my own brain. Actually, what is the thinking behind this action or inaction? And does that hold true? Does that thinking actually support me to create the outcome that I want? And I knew for me, it was like this little domino effect of in my brain of actually that thinking was holding me back, and that maybe I didn't need to wait. And that was actually a bit of a pattern that on reflection, that was one example, but there were many other examples where my mindset told me you're not ready for that yet. And I can look back and see that not readiness was just a inner story that was keeping me safe and small, instead of actually kind of investing in me, which is a big part, I think, of the investing in marketing, particularly from a solo business point of view, of that for me to show up front and center, to be front of stage in my business, then I need to be making as much time for me to have the energy and headspace to do that. And that means getting some of the back of stage stuff taken care of by other people rather than me having to do it all.
Chandra, thank you so much. So many insights, so much in what you just said. I'm sure it resonated with so many of our listeners. Anything you want to say before we go?
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, we could talk about this all day, but we won't. But I love being able to contribute to the conversation around money. I am not a financial planner. I'm not an accountant, but I am very passionate about helping women to earn really good money through the work that they do that they love. And so I think, you having these kinds of episodes and encouraging these conversations hopefully helps more women ask questions and to share more about their own thinking to help them keep moving forward in leaps rather than the slow road that I took.
Thank you so much. Michelle, I just love that conversation. It's such an important topic, and we so often see women underinvest in themselves and definitely underinvest in their marketing. And so they lose traction, they go slower, and it starts with that mindset.
Oh, it is we build ourselves the perfect trap. It's like we get into business because we're passionate and we have a vision, and then we get in there and we do a lot of the things Chandra said. We do all the things. We're up late at night building our website. We don't let ourselves invest in marketing, even though it's a really valid part of the business equation, because we think, well, we're not ready yet, or our business has to get to a certain level before we can invest. And yet that's the great trap. It's the great hamster wheel, because oftentimes until you invest, you can't get to that level. And I thought the example or the metaphor from the mentor was so good, right? Like, so waiting to join a mastermind where you're going to get the marketing strategy to grow your business, you can't do that until you grow your business. Isn't that a bit like saying you're going to wait until you get fit before you go to the gym? I absolutely love that. And it's not just about, the example Chandra gave us was joining a mastermind, but it could be about some of the other things we talked about, investing in Facebook ads, or paying somebody to do your website, or getting that VA to do all of the podcast stuff so you can get on and shine in all the other areas that are going to move the needle in your business. There are some great resources on mindset here in this very podcast, including a few episodes I just wanted to draw your attention to. And I hear people say to us often, I started over here on episode 100, and then I heard about this great episode on episode 40, and then I heard about episode 200. So if you are bouncing around inside the Content Sales universe, you may want to think about episode number 204, The Perils of Overthinking and Underdoing. That's a new one that we've just recently released. And episode 160, Why Being Opportunistic is Costing You Opportunities. And they are both really good additions to your money mindset and how you're thinking about your marketing. And Suzi, next we're going to shift from mindset breakthroughs, which I think really are the starting point for all our breakthroughs, to pricing breakthroughs. So often we see business owners undercharging and, like you said earlier, Suzi, undervaluing the products and services they sell. And that has a direct knock-on effect all the way through their business. It's often why they're tired, overwhelmed, dissatisfied, under-resourced, and so much more. And we're going to speak with someone now who has had a total transformation in this part of her marketing. And it's been a real privilege for us to witness this over the last few years inside the Marketing Success Mastermind. And that's the wonderful Tasha Jennings. And Tasha is such an inspiration. She's a world-leading expert in natural fertility. She has a podcast, an online course. She does one-to-one consulting, and she's changing lives in a really significant way every day. She's also pioneered and developed her own fertility supplement, and she's widely sought after as an expert for keynotes and on podcasts and by the media. And we've loved seeing Tasha's business growth, and I know you're going to love hearing from her today. Tasha Jennings, welcome to the Content Sales Podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
We are so thrilled you are here.
We're so thrilled we're saying it at the same time. We are so thrilled you are here. Now, we said a little bit about who you are and how much we adore you before you came on, but would you go ahead and introduce yourself, telling us what you do, who your ideal clients are, how you support them? Thank you.
I'm a fertility naturopath and nutritionist. I help proactive women and couples improve their fertility well-being to create healthy pregnancies and babies. And I do this through my one-on-one private online consulting, my Your Fertile Pantry 6-week online program, and my Zycia Natal Nutrients prenatal supplement that I have on the market.
Thank you so much. And I love, I follow Tasha, and I love seeing all these baby photos. There seems to be a whole swell of them lately. Lots of new babies, lots of babies. Yeah. So today we're talking about the money part of marketing, and we've talked a little bit already about mindset. And what we want to talk about is your story in regard to increasing your pricing, because it's such a powerful one. And when we first met, you were looking to replace a generous corporate salary with your one-on-one consultations, and you were booked solid at the time. And Michelle and I felt that you could be charging more so that you could free up some of your time. And also, I know that you wanted to introduce some new ways to bring in money. And what happened was so many in the mastermind encouraged you and held the space for you to make this shift to really owning your value and charging some higher prices. But then, and this is the most important part, is that you did the work and you took the action. Could you go ahead and share for us an overview of what that journey has looked like from when we first met you to now as it relates to your pricing?
Well, I think probably other maybe health professionals can resonate. I just want to help people. I just want to be able to help people have babies. It's just such an amazing thing to help people to create their families, that I just wanted to be affordable, and I thought that was the best way to go. And so I had okay with my product, and that was something I charged for, but my services, I thought, this is something I enjoy to do. I can do it relatively easily, and to put a higher price on that, it just didn't feel right to me. And it was interesting. I needed to change that mindset before I could change my pricing. Because as you said, everyone in the mastermind saying, you have a volume value problem, you're booked out, you need to raise your prices. But it was until I changed my mindset around that. And once I did, put my prices up by $100 per consult, and I've got busier than ever and probably need to put them up again. Everyone's telling me, but I'm still at that point at the moment.
Very, very good. And you also, as I said, you went from being totally booked, one-on-one consultations. You now increased your prices. We're encouraging you to increase them again. But you've also added some other options in the mix. You've got your product, which you mentioned, but you also have your course, which again, you want to help, but it was so important that you put a good price on that so that people could really tell the value.
Yes. I remember when I first introduced my course idea in the mastermind, and Michelle took hold of it and 10x'd my pricing straight away.
So valuable.
It really was, and I could see the value once I could see it through your lens, and I did end up. But look, it took me a little while to introduce that program, just because I was busy consulting, obviously. But when I did, I introduced it at the pricing that Michelle had suggested, and that is now something like I can do as a group, and it's now even automated so that it's now actually recorded. So that is another income stream, aside from my one-on-one consulting, which is obviously, I reached beyond capacity for a while there because I just wanted to take on people and didn't want them to have to wait 6 weeks. But I've now, reached my capacity with that. So to be able to help people through something in a group capacity is a really nice income stream for me, but it's also a way for people to get in if they can't get in with me.
I love that, because there are always ways to solve the problem that don't mean you working yourself into the ground or undercharging. And that's what's so beautiful about what we saw you do there, Tasha. You'd maxed out on the consulting. And oftentimes when we do have a consulting aspect to our business, that is the premium pricing for people to get access to us one-to-one, our time that we cannot, like once that hour is gone, I can never get that hour back. It is the most valuable commodity any of us have. And so when we put that value on our time, then we can say, but I still have this heart for helping people, which you so do, and which, as you rightly pointed out, many health professionals do, and as do many other kinds of business owners. Then you can start to think, well, how else can I solve that problem? And that's when you get into this really abundant cycle, which is where we're seeing you moving more and more into, because then you created the course, which is something you only have to do once. And like you said, you've learned how to automate it. You're charging a decent price for it, but it's also accessible for those people that perhaps can't fit onto your calendar right now, or perhaps, didn't want to sort of pay the premium for the one-to-one time. You're giving them another option. So it's really thrilling seeing what you're doing with your relationship to your pricing. And of course, under that is, which, you hit the nail on the head, is the value. And you said something that just made all the hair stand up on the back of my neck, which was you could see the value of the course when you looked at it through somebody else's lens. And I think that's what can be so powerful when we surround ourselves with mentors or coaches or masterminders or other people who can shine that light of experience and knowledge into what we're doing, because it can be hard to see it on our own.
Oh, I so needed that. I so needed other people's lens to see it through. And it was till I could then bring that on board. And that was I think the main shift that made me then put my pricing up. I remember once I decided, I put that $100 on, there was no turning back, but I needed to make that shift. And the shift was really for me about that value. I kind of thought, okay, if I'm a social media manager, I'm getting them money, they're making money out of that. And I get that, but I'm just, providing a service for their health and their family and their babies. So I had to get around the value that, oh my gosh, I'm helping them create families. Like, I am so congruent with my value now that, and I think that's why I'm so booked out. That's why I'm so comfortable and confident in the value I provide that I've, stepped beyond I just thought, oh, this is what I do. And it takes an hour. So an hour extrapolated into how much I would make per hour. Okay. But it's not about that. It's about the value at the other end that I'm providing. And that was a big shift that I had to make.
It's so powerful.
Confidence.
The
confidence in your voice is so
powerful.
good. So good.
And that congruence with your values. And people just pick that up when you're talking to them. There's no negative energy or weirdness when you say, and the price is, or it's this much for the consult. You're just saying it really cleanly and confidently. And people really do feel trust in that, and they are influenced by that. And so, go for it. Yeah.
I saw my pricing as an expense, which was another thing I needed to shift. I saw it as an expense for them. And now I don't see it as that. I thought, they're always paying a lot of money for IVF. They've got this another expense for me. I'm like, no. I'm not an expense. I'm adding value to their journey. So much value that either the IVF will work better or, I can often get them pregnant naturally before they're needing IVF. Like, I need to stop seeing myself as an expense and see myself as a value add. And that's been a big shift.
That is so powerful. Everybody that's listening, write that one down. It is so powerful. And we've been circling around a question that I've wanted to ask you because, we're hearing the confidence in your voice. We're hearing the congruence with your values. We're noting what you said. Hey, I increased my prices and actually I never looked back. But what would you say was the moment that you really crossed over? You've been giving us some clues here around recognizing your value and all of those things. But can you kind of recall a moment where you really crossed over and stepped into feeling not only good about charging more, but like you could really see the value you were bringing? Was there a moment? Was it a more gradual shift?
No, there was an absolute moment. There was an absolute shift, and it was after one of our 2-day masterminds, and I'm not even really can't specify exactly what the shift was. I think it had more been a build of momentum of everyone saying exactly what I said, about all of these values and the value of what you provide at the other end. And also, getting me to list down everything I was doing, like that I would just take for granted. Yes, I go through bucket loads of test results and I, go through them with a fine comb and I go through them. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I didn't even list that as something. That's just something I do. So it was getting really in touch with everything that I did and the value I provided. And it was just a moment. All of a sudden it was like almost the penny dropped. And of course, I couldn't scramble quickly enough to get my website updated. It's like, what have I been doing? Of course I need to do this. And so it was just that big shift. And I think until I had that shift, I wasn't congruent with my pricing. But as soon as that shift kicked in, I was right there.
And it can happen it can be slow, and then it happens in an instance, and you know. I know that recently we were at another mastermind meeting, probably, maybe 12, 18 months after that shift that you had, and you were emphatic and actively encouraging another longtime member of the mastermind to increase her prices. And we love seeing that so much. And I think that as we start to see and feel confident in our own value like you have, we can also help others see their value as well. And so I'd love to know what you would say to any content sales listener right now who may have resonated with your before story. I want to help. They're already paying for something. And maybe they're feeling in that bind right now of being maxed out in their business. and also not getting the return they need in order to grow their business, but feeling those same feelings like, do I increase my prices? Do I deliver enough value? What would your advice to them be?
I think it's really important to get in touch with that feeling, because you can say everything on paper, and I could see for, a while that everyone was telling me to increase my prices and everything looked fine on paper. But then I guess, first of all, I knew you need to stop comparing yourself, and that's what I would be doing. Okay, well, other naturopaths sort of charge about this, so I should charge about this. And it's not about what other people in your industry are doing. You don't know exactly how they're doing it. You have a uniqueness, and that's what I got in touch with. And I have a uniqueness in what I provide, and no one else, I don't think, provides exactly what I provide. And everyone's the same. I'm not unique in that. Everyone has them. And so what value are you providing? And you put a price on that, and don't see it as an expense. Don't see it as, my customer has to pay this. What value are they gaining out of it? And I'm sure it's tenfold, whatever pricing that you have on that. So gaining the confidence in the value you're providing. And also nitty-gritty stuff. I mean, this wasn't as powerful for me, but it was still a big shift in that I wrote down every single thing I do when I charge someone. And it was amazing, that long list that it was. And I think we forget those little things that you do that take up the time or add value that you think, it's easy for me, but write them all down so that you can get really comfortable in how much you do for that price.
So good.
Such wise advice. And I love it when we can hear directly from somebody who has had the transformation. For me, that's always the advice I trust the most. And I'm sure you're speaking to a lot of our listeners right now. Tasha, you're a total inspiration. I know for both Suzi and I, and I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people and given them a lot of food for thought, actually, who are listening to today's show. After you shared so openly and generously when it comes to your journey. And I so resonate with what you said about kind of making that big long list of things and realizing, well, I used to just gloss over that and that and that and that, and really becoming present to your value is such a practical piece of advice you've given. So thank you so much for sharing all your brilliance with us here on the Content Sales Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it's helped.
Oh, absolutely. To Michelle's point, sometimes we just need to hear, our own inner chatter through someone else's story, and I think you demonstrated that beautifully. And I think there'll be so many people who can relate. So from me as well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Suzi, how great was that?
I adore her so much.
Yes, ditto.
And
so
I just love hearing the confidence in her voice and knowing how much she did struggle in those early days, which I couldn't possibly raise my prices. And, we talked about mindset earlier with Shandra, and now we hear it again. It's like I had to get the mindset in place before I then looked at my pricing. And, you and I give so many of our masterminders and even other members inside of the Her Business community that advice to raise your prices, charge what you're worth, stop comparing yourself to others, craft offers that convert. And I thought that might be a good episode for us to link to from this show as well, is that you don't have to charge what another naturopath charges if you're a naturopath, or what another copywriter or graphic designer or stylist. If you can package and price your offers as offers and not as hourly rates, and so you stop exchanging time for money and you build in a whole lot of value. And Tasha told us about the long list of things that when she unpacked what it was she actually did in those sessions, she could see that she was well worth the price. And so we'll put a link to that in our show notes, and we'll give you a link to where the show notes are a little later on.
I did think the whole thing about wanting to help people, it can be such a trap, because, we come into it with the best of intentions that we want to help people, and then we go and burn ourselves out, and then we can't help anybody,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
building that sustainable business is the best way to help the people you want to help.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you want to focus on your pricing breakthrough, there are a couple of episodes in addition to the one about offers that I just mentioned. They are episode number 82, called 3 Profitable Pricing Strategies for Small Business Owners, and episode 184, How to Raise Your Prices, 5 Strategies for Making More Money Without Losing Customers. So we will put a link to that in our show notes. And as I said, I'll give you those details a little later on. And so we've had a great mindset discussion with Shandra, a powerful pricing discussion with Tasha. Now let's talk about some of the challenges we can have when it comes to buying traffic. And what I mean is actually paying a third party to drive eyeballs and customers to your business and your offers, and actually paying for those types of services. Because when we start out a business, we can get by for a while on word of mouth and elbow grease and referrals and networking and organic free ways that we can let people know about our products and services. But very often there comes a time when we hit a ceiling, and how far and how fast we can grow, we have to do something different. Because what happens is the referrals start drying up. We've used all our contacts, our organic posts, our content isn't getting the traction that it used to. And that is the time where you need to be able to invest in bringing in others to help you grow your business. And this can be a real block for small business owners. And one of the key areas that you very often need to invest in when it comes to your marketing is in your lead generation. And that is paying for traffic that generate leads. So whether it's on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn or YouTube, Google Ads, or whether you're renting third-party email lists or any of the other ways that you might pay to access leads, there is a leaping off point where you need to make that shift. And then how do you make that profitable? So again, it starts with that decision. It starts with that mindset. Like, I get it. I've gone as far as I can. I need to now gulp and actually invest in my business, in my marketing in a different way. The money part of marketing, which is about investing for business growth. And so to give you an insight into her journey, we're going to be joined now by one of our favorite humans on the planet. She's an amazing marketer and business owner. Her name is Fiona Keary of Style Liberation, and she's the creator of the popular Facebook group called 35 Plus Where to Shop, the Style Transformation course, and the Superstylers membership. She also has incredible resources like her Style Personality quiz and the guide that shows you where to shop depending on your style personality and your body shape. She's, as I said, an inspiring business owner that Michelle and I really, really love. Her name is Fiona Keary, and she's going to now join us to talk about investing for business growth. Fiona, welcome to the Content Source Podcast.
Oh, Suzi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we are so excited. We are so excited. We've just been talking you up to our listeners.
Yes, any day we get to hang out with you is a good day. We are so admire you and what you've done with your business, how you show up in the world, how you show up inside our mastermind, and just being sort of having a front row seat on the way you have invested in your business, the way you have kind of developed your business over the last few years has been just so incredible. And we're really, really keen to talk to you. And I know our listeners are going to get so much out of this. But before we get into all the questions we have for you, we'd love you to tell us what you do and who you serve.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm Fiona Keary from Style Liberation, and we help women 35 plus to create a wardrobe full of outfits that they absolutely love without having to start from scratch. And we do that through our in-person and virtual consultations, our online program, The Style Transformation, and also our membership, The Superstylers.
Wowza. I mean, that just already just sounds like such an accomplished business, a mature business, a business that's got multiple streams of income, and yet they all fit together. But when we first met you in the mastermind, I have this very clear picture of the very first day we met you. You had a very different business to what you have now. Can you paint the picture of what things were like then, and then give our listeners a sense of the incredible business you've built now?
Well, it definitely was a very, very different business. First of all, it was just me compared to now to a team of 7. And for me, it was really about actually filling consultations on a weekly basis with one-to-one clients and maybe some like group sessions that I thought I'd build into the business so that I was leveraging my time and and creating scale in my business. That's really where I was. And even at that stage, I didn't really understand who my ideal client was. I was still working that out. I was torn between focusing on more of a corporate market, whereas now we really focus on women 35 plus who are going through some change in their life and feel like how they're presenting themselves doesn't really match what's inside anymore. So, yeah, we've now grown to have a business, as you said, that have multiple income streams. Like I couldn't even imagine like 7 years ago that I would have a business where we help women across Australia, New Zealand and the UK online and virtually. So, you know, we do that through our online programs and virtual styling sessions, as well as our membership community too. So, yeah, we're really excited about how we've grown and taken those leaps forward, and couldn't have done it at all without the support of the mastermind.
Fiona, I love hearing about the growth of the business, not only in the products and services that you're offering, but also in the team that now leverages you and how you're spending your time. And I'm just so excited. I knew that you'd grown the team. I didn't realize you were up to 7 people. But, you know, you are offering a membership, of which I'm a very proud member. You have a course that you run multiple times a year. You have multiple lead magnets that are bringing people into your world, webinars that you're running, where you are making offers for people to join your paid programs. Here's something I've noticed, again, just because Michelle and I know you well because you're part of the mastermind, is that there came a point where you'd maxed out the old ways of getting leads, perhaps some of the more organic ways, and you knew you needed more. Can you talk to us about what that point was and whether there was a distinct moment or something that was gradually like a bit of an itch that you had to scratch to say, okay, I need to approach this idea of getting leads in a different way?
Absolutely. So it was when we started our online course and really started off as a minimal viable product. And it was that idea that we started the course and, you know, the first round that we ran, you know, it was great because we were going out to our list. They hadn't seen this before. So it was brand new. And so we had a whole list to market to. So, and, you know, we did a few boosts of posts on Facebook and things like that to the very, very small community that I had at that time. And so that started off fantastically. But then what we noticed was each time we were going out with that offer, it was almost like we were going to the same pool again with maybe 2% more people added to it that we just reached organically. So it was that realization that in order to, you know, grow and attract more people to the course, that we would need to really expand our audience. And we weren't getting the growth organically at all.
You make such an important point because I see women make this mistake all the time. They're having these little incremental growth spurts, but they haven't quite had the mind shift to look at investing, doubling down on the efforts they're already making to really see the business grow. And so I know that you started to buy ads on Facebook, Instagram, possibly some other places. How did you think about making this change? And did you put it off? Did you like start off small, do it yourself? Were you intimidated, excited? Take us a little bit behind the scenes of that transition.
So when I was launching my online course, I did Amy Porterfield's digital course academy. And as part of that, she had a module on Facebook ads. That's what gave me some confidence to sort of dive in, because there was a step-by-step DIY way of moving forward on that. And it was scary. It was really scary because I felt like in a way, it was almost like putting money into a pokie machine. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like,
I feel like I've made donations. I've made big donations to Zuckerberg many times over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I press this button and that goes that way, and maybe we'll get some. So to have a framework to sort of kick off and get started in a DIY sense, especially when you're coming in completely cold. So, whoever you choose to sort of guide you in that direction. But that's how I started off. It was a side module in a course that I took to sort of give me some foundations to experiment and play with from there. But yeah, there was definitely resistance to it because it's unknown. You don't know if it's going to work. You hear so many stories about, ad campaigns that don't work and you don't get the return and things like that. So yeah, it was definitely, I was definitely a little nervous.
And you did DIY, as you said. Now, I don't actually know the answer to this question, which is probably a good reason to ask it, is do you get outside help? Do you have a small agency or someone who supports you?
No,
you're DIY.
I still DIY.
Okay.
And look, it's possibly because I'm a control freak. That's okay. I'm reading Who, Not How. And so I guess in a sort of way, I actually quite enjoy doing the Facebook ads, which is not a good enough reason to continue doing them. However, I have sort of kept up-leveling and upskilling my knowledge in terms of Facebook ads. So it is something that I still DIY at this stage. However, I guess the way that we run our campaigns and things like that, we have 2 major launches a year in terms of style transformation. So the campaigns that we have run have worked. So we just tweak them every time. So it doesn't feel like it's a huge investment of time to do that. And I feel for me, it's a great way of like sort of keeping tabs on sort of what's happening. But yes, eventually it will definitely need to be something that I outsource.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, can you see a day where that might change? So, and anytime as business owners, when we like something and we're pretty good at it, we can keep our finger in the pie. We sometimes hold on to things too long, but I know you're a smart business owner. You will let it go when the timing's right. So, yeah, thank you.
That's okay. I will.
Nudge, nudge.
And of course, that time is different for each business owner. What we're about, and maybe listeners can hear Fiona going, "Oh, I can see they want me to stop doing this." It's really when it's right for you. For some parts of our business, it does make sense for us to hold on to it for a little longer than maybe another business owner might. But the art, I think, is knowing when to let go of. When the opportunity cost is so great that you really need to get yourself the capacity because you are needed in so many other places and spaces in your business where you can make more difference and have more impact and, grow the business revenue and all those things. So, and you kind of maybe answered this, but it's a clarification more than anything. When you mentioned that you're running these campaigns a couple of times a year and you're just really tweaking those campaigns, I'm curious, in terms of ad spend, are you spending money on advertising all the time and audience building? And if so, what are you doing there? Or do you only advertise when you have a big launch or a big promotion on? And I've got a follow up to that about how you allocate that revenue. But that first part there in terms of the ad spend, is it all year round or just for promotions?
It is now over the last couple of years. So what we did initially was we would just turn on the ads for launch period and then turn them off straight away afterwards. So we'd run ads for the webinar and then the style transformation program itself and then turn those off. But what I noticed, and again, doing various courses and, keeping on top of trends and things like that, was that realization that actually Facebook likes it when you do spend money consistently. So we started then to run ads throughout the year, so more sort of awareness ads. But the other thing that, I've learned through Mastermind is that by running ads throughout the year, it's not only saving you money in terms of Facebook ad spend, it's staying front of mind. So not just popping up and appearing sort of twice a year, but staying front of mind all the time and being able then to retarget based on things like video views, into lead magnets, which then get people on your mailing list. So it's sort of like a more subtle, almost dating approach with your potential audience and clients over time, rather than just bombarding them straight away with do this and sign up for this. So yes.
And then disappearing.
Exactly. So it's very much that warming up of the audience throughout the year and then launching twice.
I love it. And I can hear that Suzi's, mming as well. We both love to hear
in the background.
And, for our listeners, it's so important that you aren't just popping into people's feed when you want them to buy something, that you are really being seen as the authority in your space if you are at the front of your business, or letting them know about your product if it's, a product that they need to know about. And so we're really happy to hear that, Fiona, and the opportunities to grow your audience during those sort of times when you're not in launch mode is so powerful. And that's the essence of everything about this show, having good lead magnets and having good content. And you've got a fantastic Facebook group that you get people into, and you can nurture them from there. I mean, it all just makes the launch when you open so much more powerful.
It absolutely does. And that's what we've really noticed over the last probably 18 months, is that it feels like there's more ease in the process. It doesn't feel like we're scrambling as much to sort of get people up the mountain. So, yeah, by having those sort of awareness videos that we use as ads definitely has made a difference.
Very good.
And so, we're talking here about investing for growth. It's one of the big money parts of business that people get stuck on. Oh, you mean I've got to pay money? I can't just attend free networking events and hand out my business card and hope to grow a multi-million-dollar business. I'm curious, do you, at this stage that you're at, do you have a thought in your mind about, are you allocating a certain percentage of revenue to how much you're spending on traffic, or how are you thinking about how much you're investing, or how you're investing in acquiring leads through paid traffic sources?
So this was a really interesting exercise to sort of have a look and review. And I have to admit, I didn't have like a particular figure in terms of a percentage of revenue. But what I did is I've had a look at where we sort of sat over the last couple of years, and then also seeing the impact that has had in the growth of our revenue. And so what's been really interesting is, we probably started off at that sort of 2 to 3% in terms of advertising spend as a percentage of revenue. Now we're at a point where we're around the 8 or 9%, especially in the last year, we've really ramped that percentage up from about 5 to 9%. But then we've also seen we've actually seen a greater percentage increase in revenue in that period as well. So we've had more than a 10% return based on that Facebook ad spend. Yeah. And that was important for me to see, because it was like, okay, well, I'm putting all this money in. Are we breaking even in terms of that increase in revenue, or are we actually having an impact there?
This is as my sister would say, this is the duck's guts of it right here, Fiona, because there is a direct correlation. I've just been in my mastermind in the US in Phoenix, and we were talking about this very thing. There's one guy there, he's a Facebook ads expert, and we had a guest speaker come in who's just done a launch where he spent, what was it? It was some ridiculous amount of money on Facebook ads. Like, I want to say it was $36 million he spent over about a 4-week period. And he said, what I realized was I just had to spend more money on ads. Once I had something that was working, I just had to spend more money on ads. And the Facebook ads expert in the room said, yeah, people just spend more money on ads. And I love that you've upped the percentage of revenue from 2 to 3% to 8 to 9%. And that 8% range is, where I know a few of my colleagues are at right now. And the big caveat is you've got a funnel that's working. You've got a process that's working. And once you kind of get that process that's working, it's really just about how many people can I get into this funnel, this journey that I'm taking them on and turning them into customers.
That's so true. And it is having that confidence. And I guess we always talk about it in Mastermind about, looking at the numbers and the percentages and things like that, so that you you have that benchmark to review every time you launch, so that you have that confidence that you know, okay, well, if I have this many people, it's going to convert to this many people along the way. So I definitely have more confidence to spend advertising dollars because I know that our numbers work in terms of following through.
And this comes from experience of having made an offer, seen the results, tweaked some things, made another offer, seen the results, spent this much on ads, done this type of ad campaign, that type of ad campaign. And here's what I know. I've just also been in my mastermind just a little before Michelle went to hers. And there are people with high seven-figure businesses who still gulp about spending more money, even though they know they have the products and services, there's the demand there, they know their average client value. And so whether we're a small business owner or whether we're a large business owner, we always just want to be considerate and know our numbers, know the return on investment that we're getting. And sometimes that only happens retrospectively. You can join the dots looking backwards, as Steve Jobs famously once said. But if you've just tried and spending money on ads and you're listening and you blew the money, hey, most of us have been there, but it's when you can line these ducks up in a row, you know your ideal client. I know that's work that Fiona did for a long time. You create products and services that your ideal clients really want because you understand their pain points and problems. You put in place a system, a marketing funnel that actually has leads that become sales. Then you can double down. Then you can spend a little bit of money, educate yourself, understand the ins and outs. And it's not throwing money at the wall. Even though I use the words doubling down, which is a gambling term as well, it's not about that. It is about being strategic with your investment in the money part that is for business growth. And it's really hard to get the sort of scale and the progress that we're seeing in Fiona's business organically. And we look at businesses every single day, thousands of them. And so here is what we know, is that the strategy that you're using, Fiona, it is sound, and it is evidenced by the results that you're getting, which we're very excited about.
I am very excited too.
I just love that you're seeing the increase in the revenue kind of in line with the increasing percentage of ad spend that you're giving. And, for anyone that's listening that's thinking, I did exactly what Suzi said, I blew a heap of money on Facebook. I want to say, who hasn't? Really, it's part of the kind of learning process. And a friend of mine who's now has a $20 million plus business, when he was starting out, he was living kind of on the breadline, and it was really hard for him to spend money on ads. But he took this approach that he was going to look at it as if it was paid tuition. So if he did a couple of campaigns and he spent, maybe a few $100s to start and then a few $1,000s, and he had to spend that to learn, he had the investor mindset. That's what I'm trying to point out from the start with how he applied this. He didn't have the gambler mindset. The gambler walks into the casino and says, I've got $100, maybe I'll turn it into $1 million. They lose $100 and they go, right, well, that wasn't for me. But the investor says, I've got $100. Let me see what I can turn this into. Oh, that didn't work, but I can see if I change this and this and this, and I put some more in, I might be able to get my return. And they learn along the way. They see the education as the investment, as the vital part of the investment. And this leads me to really, the kind of question for wrapping up our time with you, Fiona, which is, we've seen, and you've been sharing how much that decision to invest in traffic has changed your business. Your revenue is up, your growth is up, you've got all these great products, you're in a really good position. What advice would you have for others who are in a similar position to where you were when you were making this leap, making this shift?
I think one of the key pieces of advice I would give is to understand what your strategy is when it comes to Facebook ads. So what is your end game, and what are the sort of best ways to get there? So one of the things I wish I had sort of really thought about, especially when I blew lots of money on Facebook ads, like you said, everyone does, is really thinking about what different ads do. So your awareness campaigns, your consideration campaigns, then your sort of launch and offer campaigns. So really having a look at your strategy and knowing that it's not just about putting ads behind an offer, it's the whole picture that you need to consider and invest in.
And that strategic approach is so important. Fiona, I want to thank you so much. We love you and we love the impact that you're having on women to show up confidently as themselves. We also love the success that you're having in your business and what that's allowing you to provide for yourself and your family. Is there anything you want to add on this topic of investing financially to grow your business?
It can be really nerve-wracking to get started, but as Michelle said, it is really about using it as a learning opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance here on the episode. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Fiona has this great phrase, which is Project Broken Record. And this is how she describes the fact that she zeroes in on and focuses on her main offers again and again and again throughout the year. So for anyone interested in an episode that Fiona inspired with her catchphrase, Project Broken Record, check out episode 183, which is titled Why You Don't Need to Change Your Marketing, The Benefits of Project Broken Record. Michelle, I just love these women. How good are they?
Oh my gosh. Every time they speak, my heart just fills with such happiness for them and also for the people they're helping. You know, that ripple effect is rolling out as they become more powerful marketers, as they get through these kind of money blocks, they focus on the money part of marketing. It really is just a kind of a virtuous cycle because their business grows, they make more money, they're helping more of the people they want to help, which makes them like their business more, which helps their business grow. You know, it's just such a fantastically abundant thing to see.
And it's so different from where we see a lot of small business owners where they're just not thinking about the money side of marketing. They think that marketing is just about free stuff and organic and somehow people are going to find them. And so we can see with these three examples such real deliberate focus on mindset, on pricing and increasing what we're asking people to buy from us, the prices that we're asking them to, the amount that we're asking them to spend, and then actually investing and saying, oh, here you go, Facebook or Google or YouTube, here's some of my money because I know my ideal client, I know my products and services, I know that this is going to be a great piece of leverage for me. So there's such amazing insights to be gained from people who are working towards the same goals as you are, like our three masterminders are. It's one of the things I love most about the mastermind is the power of advice and collaboration and support from your peers. And so we've got some absolute gold today from Shandra and Tasha and Fiona. And if you're listening to the show and you're thinking, how do I get in on some of that powerful community and sharing with women like Shandra and Tasha and Fiona, imagine having them in your corner. Well, you might be ready for our Marketing Success Mastermind. We rarely open the doors to the mastermind, but if you want to head over to herbusinessmastermind.com, you can read more about the program and you can join the wait list. We do give priority to those on the wait list when we do open up, and we will let you know ahead of time when the mastermind is next opening, and you can apply before we open access to our wider audience and our wider network. So that's herbusinessmastermind.com, and we'll also put the link in today's show notes for you. So a couple of things to share with you, including where to get all the goodies and links that we've mentioned on today's show, including some past episodes we think work really well with this one. But first, we'd love it if you would give us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. We love sharing these tips with as many business owners as possible. And so showing up with great ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts means that we can share this message with more women business owners. We already have over 100 5-star reviews, for which we are so grateful. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you too would leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. We love to give a shout out to those who do leave us reviews. And one of those people is Stacey Morgan. She said this about a recent episode we did. The episode was called The 5 Essential Content Strategies for Building Your Profile. And she said this. She said, as always, wonderful content delivered simply, strategically, a must-listen episode. Thanks, Suzi, Dafnis, and Michelle Falzon. So thank you so much to Stacey, and do leave us a review. It's a great opportunity for us to promote your business here on the show, as well as giving us a little thumbs up that you enjoyed the program. Now, we have mentioned several resources and episodes here on today's show, and we've made it easy for you to access all those goodies. So anything we mentioned on the show, you're going to find over on our website at herbusiness.com, the money part, herbusiness.com, the money part. Michelle, what do we have coming up in the next episode?
The next episode is all about renewal and retention strategies for memberships or any kind of business model where you might have recurring revenue, something where people are signing up for some sort of service from you on a regular basis. How do you keep them? How do you make sure they renew? And in these kinds of models, if you don't get this part right, it can really feel like you've just got a very leaky bucket. You're doing a lot of work to get people in and you're not getting all that benefit of that recurring revenue. So we're going to be sharing some specific strategies, simple, doable, and really effective ways that you can really increase your renewal and retention rates for your membership. And look, even if you don't have a membership, you want to check this one out because you can easily map these strategies over to things like boosting your readership for your regular newsletter. You know, people are still opting in to get your regular content from you. So how do you get them waiting for the next one? Increasing people coming back and buying your products again and again. So increasing that customer loyalty is a form of retention and so much more. So we're looking forward to that in the next episode.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm very excited about that episode. We know, right, that it is so much easier to get someone to come back and buy from you again and again than try and find a new customer because you've already done the hard work. You've already built the relationship. So that's coming up 2 weeks from now. So be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast to make sure you get that episode when it drops. Michelle, anything you want to say before we go today?
I'd like to one more time thank so sincerely Shandra, Tasha, and Fiona for just so generously sharing all of your insights. I love it when we can hear directly from people who are doing the doing. And so all of our listeners, we encourage you to embrace the money part of your marketing. It really is where the growth is.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells podcast. Bye for now.